It's been horrible and super rainy, and a mixture of really cold and then warm and then cold and then warm. And now there's just puddles everywhere, but that's okay, because what I want to do today involves the greenhouse where it's dry and cosy, so that's where I'm going. So the thing is, it's mid-March, which is dead exciting, because from mid-March onwards we start sowing loads of seeds here in my garden, because that's when kind of spring starts to creep in, and it's also close enough to when it's warm in the garden and we can get stuff out that it's a perfect time to get things going. So I'm going to be sowing some seeds, but I still think if all I do is sow seeds every week and just show you how I sow them, it gets really boring. So I'm just going to show you a wee different thing, because you've seen me using these an awful lot. But I haven't always used these, and I don't always use these. So we're going to use something different today. Now, I've already got my seed starting mix made up, because that's the thing. When it's this busy and there are so many seeds to sow, I like to get a lot of these kind of jobs done and out the way. So Kate and I actually did a lot of this at the weekend, because the thing is, if it's warm enough for me to start seeds in here, you can bet it's warm enough for weeds to start coming up in the garden. And it's warm enough now that it is time, and Kate has had to mow the lawn and do the edges. So while she was doing the edges at the weekend, I sieved a massive batch of compost to get it super fine for my seed sown. So I'm ready to go. So we're going to be using these. And I've got two sizes. Well, I've actually got three sizes. I'll explain. You'll hear these called seed trays for obvious reasons. You'll also hear them called seed flats. Now, this is a half size. This is a full size. And you can see why. You can get two of the half sizes and a full size, hence the name. These are different. These are little ones that come as part of a propagator set. So they're not a standard size, they're not this kind of thing. They actually come as part of propagators. But I still use them, they're still useful. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this lot today for seed sowing, because you don't always need to sow everything in little individual module trays. There are a lot of times I do it because I do think it's easier, but you don't need to do it, and sometimes there's a benefit in not doing it. So what are we doing then? Right, you've seen I've got these. I'm behind so much on my March seed sowing. So what have I got that's happening today then? Right, I'm going to sow tomatoes for one thing today. So I've got two different sets of tomatoes that I'm growing as two different sets. The reason being, the ones I'm growing in the greenhouse, I'm going to start today. But later on, maybe the beginning of April, the ones that I'm going to grow outdoors, I'll start then. The reason being, tomatoes will grow much, much quicker than my peppers are grown. So I don't need to start these way early, like January, like I do with my peppers. But they will grow so fast that if I start all of them now, I'll run out of space too quickly. And the ones that are going outdoors, these are sensitive to temperatures. So my outdoor ones won't get sown until sort of beginning of April time, because I can't put them outside until maybe the beginning of June, because I need it to be warm enough for them overnight as well as during the day. And we just don't get that until the beginning of June usually. So we'll see. But what we're doing today then is the tomatoes that are going to stay in the greenhouse. And that is going to be my Rebel Starfighter. Quite excited. My Barry's Crazy Cherry, of course. I've got Marmande, which are a big beefsteak. And I've got Luffy Choice, which is a bit like Barry's Crazy Cherry in that it is multiflora. And what that means is you get a lot of flowers per truss. But rather than being yellow, these are more of a sort of dark orange red. So that's the tomatoes that are going to be growing in the greenhouse. So I'm going to get them sown today. as well as some other things. I don't know if you guys can see the entire wall of lettuce beside me. I have a problem. I can never control the amount of lettuce I grow. Either it just doesn't work and I'm so short of lettuce, or it all works and I've got far too much. However, I have far too much of all the same type. One of the things that we like is we like to have cut and come again salad crops in the kitchen. So not just these full head lettuce that I'm growing here, but little ones that we can just cut small leaves for bits of salad and sandwiches, that kind of thing. So I'm going to be doing some of them as well. But in true Eli fashion, I've left them in the box, so bear with me. So March goes back and we go and find where I have put the salad. Oh look, a box labelled salad. There's just no space in here. So yes, so I've got tomatoes I'm going to be sowing. I'm also going to be doing some cut and come again salad. That is these guys. So these are just mixed leaves, all different types, but it is specifically the leaves that they just grow small little leaves like this. So not big heads of lettuce, and you just go in and chop them with scissors. So I'm going to get some of them going. So that's that lot. I've also got another cool thing I'm going to get growing as well. It's not going to be in any of these though. But I'll tell you about that when I've done this lot. Okay, tomatoes first. How many have I got then? Should be 4. 1, 2, 3, yes. 4 varieties of tomatoes to grow in my greenhouse. They will eventually live in my quad grows, but not yet. So this is my seed starting mix. My mix is pretty much a low compost mix. So I do have compost in there, but I also have cocoa coir and I have vermiculite to add a bit of drainage. And as I mentioned earlier, I sieve my compost to keep it all fluffy and so that it's all small particles. That is especially useful when you're growing like this, because what I'm going to have to do is when the little plants are ready, I'm going to have to actually prise them out of the soil here to move them up to their pots. And if that compost is super fine, it's going to be much easier because the roots won't be tangled round things. Whereas if you leave it with all the fibrous bits, the roots cling on to that and it can make it harder to prick them out. Now I need my tamper, which is a bit of wood with a handle that is the size I need, so I can press this flat. Look at that, it's very technical. Now here's the thing, there's my labels. Oh, I need a bigger greenhouse. Do, 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 do. Where are my labels? Need labels. So I'm going to grow 4 varieties of tomato, but I only need 1 of each. I don't grow a lot of different plants. I just don't have the space, as you guys can see. So all I'm going to do is grow maybe 3 of each type of tomato in here in little rows. So I need 4 rows. So let's break it up into 4 rows. There we go. Now that's more for me, it's more for me to see than anything else. But you might be thinking, but Eli, that's not a lot of space. You can't grow tomatoes in there. Aha, this is only for the little seedlings. So as soon as they've got true leaves on them, I'm going to get them out of here and get them potted on. So this is just to start the seeds. Hence, I can do as many in here as 12 plants. So let's start then. These are open. These are Marmande. Now, Marmande are one of our favourite beefsteak tomatoes. I didn't grow it last year because I was doing black crim, but these generally are ones we grow because they are fantastic for slicing and putting on burgers and sandwiches and things. They are also fantastic for making sauces because they're nice big beefy tomatoes, if you like. There we go, we'll see how many it goes. We'll just cover that up, and that's that nice little row. Marmande, done, super easy. So I do absolutely love these. They are gorgeous. And I find they grow fabulously here in my garden, which, when I was a beginner, I didn't think I could grow beefsteak tomatoes here because I thought it was all about the size and that if I grew small cherries, there was much more chance of them ripening in my cold Scottish garden. Which is just not true. It's more to do with the length of season that variety needs. I have got cherries like Barry's Crazy Cherry that take a lot longer to mature than these beefsteak tomatoes. So it's more about variety. So when you're choosing your tomatoes, have a look at how many days it is from small plant to harvest, or it might be called days to maturity. Now on the internet, you might find that you'll get a few different sort of suggestions on what that may be. Don't panic about that, just go with roughly what they're saying because it all depends on how perfect their environment is, but it'll give you a good idea. And then, oh, how tiny are these? Look, Barry's Crazy Cherry. Then, once you know that, you can work out what your season is for your tomatoes in your garden. And the way you do that is you say, right, what do my tomatoes need? So I always say, you want your tomatoes to be at 10C or above. Okay, so that's overnight as well. So how many days in your garden is it above those temperatures? And that is how you work out what your season is for tomatoes in your garden. So then you just match the varieties and their growing season to your garden growing season, and there you go, bingo, you've got the tomatoes that will do well in your garden. Okay, so that's 2 lots done. So that's Barry's Crazy Cherry in. Now, do you see what I mean? This is so easy, so simple. Nothing dramatic about it at all. It's just seed sown. And they are Barry's. Just make sure you label, because sometimes I forget and I regret it. So what's next then? Let's do Starfighter, Rebel Starfighter Prime. So this is one that I got from Camilla. You guys know that I buy a lot of my tomato seeds from Camilla because, fabulously, Camilla is in the north of Scotland. So I know anything that grows in her garden will grow in my garden. But also, I also know that all of these seeds that she sends me, she has grown in her garden, and these are collected seeds. So I know they're going to be vigorous, good seeds that are used to my environment. And even better again, I know that Camilla has actually made the effort to do viability tests for all of her seeds before she sells them. So I know I can trust seeds from Camilla. She's not some big seed producer. She is one fabulous Norwegian woman who lives in the Scottish Highlands and grows beautiful tomatoes. She also runs a market garden, but you know, that's not as exciting to me. Starfighter Prime. And yes, I absolutely chose them because of the name. So sue me. Right, okay, the last one then. Leafy Choice. So this is the multiflora ones that are a bit like Barry's Crazy Cherry. I've never grown them before. I've chosen them after growing Barry's Crazy Cherry last year and how much fun it was. So I've chosen these so that I've got the same sort of idea, but it's a different colour. So again, 4 seeds. Now 4 seeds to you may not seem like a lot, but when you think about it, I actually only need 1 plant. So 4 seeds is quite a lot. If these all germinate, we've got friends that will take them. So that's not a big drama. Okay, that's Luffy's choice. Now what I'll do is I will put a link to Camilla's tomatoes, or to where you can go and buy tomatoes from Camilla. I'll put that in the description of the video, as I always do. But I also recommend you go check out her Instagram. So I'll put a link to that as well. She's just brilliant, and her Instagram is full of gorgeous tomatoes. She runs courses, all sorts of stuff. So if you're in the UK, that's fabby. Okay, I need to give that a good water, which I'll do at the end when I've finished everything else. So that's my tomatoes. I'm going to put them there. Now I also said I was going to do some cut and come again salad. Now that is why I've got the big tray out. Aha! I lied to you. I didn't actually lie. Those big trays don't have drainage holes in them. These ones do. For seed sown, I want the ones with the holes in them. For obvious reasons. So let's get some soil in here then. Or some more seed mix. Okay, now I'm going to do things a little bit differently with this. So let's get it tamped down. That gives me a nice flat surface for the seeds. Now, I should point out, because obviously you can only see what I'm doing on video, I'm not putting loads of weight on that, so I'm not compacting it down. I'm pretty much just making sure it's flat and level. Put these away because we don't need them now. Now I've got a few different types of cut and come again salad leaves. You get lots of different varieties. I wouldn't recommend one more than another. Just try them and see what you get. So what I'm going to do is I've got this one that's a mix of different sizes and colours of leaves, and I've got some of these little microgreen ones with rocket, so that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to do something called broadcast sowing, and I've shown you guys this before. This is what I do with small seeds because it's just much easier. And it basically is where I sprinkle seeds on the surface. Okay, so you can see I'm not doing neat tidy lines, I'm just doing a sprinkle on the surface. Now that's the rocket. I'm also going to do the same thing again with these mixed salad leaves, these mixed lettuce leaves. Now the cool thing when you look in here is you'll see it's all different seeds because it's a mix. They all look different, which is quite fun. But I'm going to do the same thing, and it's the same tray that I've just put the rocket in, you can see, because I'm not separating them. I would cut all of these together and mix them all together in my salads, so I don't need to separate them. They're just salad leaves. Now, top tip, and I've learned this from experience, you're not trying to absolutely cover the surface and seeds here. It's better to sow less than sow more, because you want all those little plants that are grown to have a little bit of space around them. If they're too packed in, you can have problems with moulds and fungus and things, and pests. They need a little bit of airflow in there. Now, I've got them on the surface. This is a bit different. I don't want to completely submerge these in the soil. So you'll see I didn't do drills, I didn't poke them in. I'm just going to give them a little bit of soil over the top, or a little bit of my seed mix over the top. And that is purely to hold moisture, because you don't want your seeds to dry out. Moisture's the key to getting your seeds to germinate, okay? They can be at the right temperature, but if they're dry, they won't germinate. You need them to be moist. So what I do for that is I've got this tiny little sieve. And I just do this tiny little coating over the top. Oh, time in. Sorry, hang on.
Hello? I'm not interrupting you, am I?
Hello, you.
Are you filming?
I actually am. I'm not long till I'm finished though, if you want to give me a call back in like half an hour.
Oh, right, okay. Well, it's just a little quick one. I'm just going through some seed packets while I'm in the greenhouse of things to sow, and I've just come across something and it's given me an idea. How do you feel about a grow along?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm totally up for that. Yeah, we can do some videos together.
Oh, I'm definitely up for it. Yeah. Collab? Brilliant. Okay, well, I'll let you get back to your filming and I'll catch up with you in the week and we'll have a discussion about it.
Brilliant. Okay. Right. Yeah, midweek sounds good. See you. Sorry. Random people phoning. Where was I? Yeah, so I'm just giving them a wee cover up. There we go. That much. All of this can go back in here. So there we go. It's messy, but hey ho, it does the job. And this is cut and come again. There we go. So again, this needs a water, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in a tray full of water and let it soak from the bottom and let it absolutely saturate that mix. If I now try and water from above, it's going to move all of that around and you're going to end up with lots of clumps of leaves rather than it being nice and even. Like I've just made the effort to spread it. So that's the next one to do after I'm finished. I promised you guys something different at the end. So that's what we're doing next. Let me clear up. You've seen that I've pulled different coloured boxes out. I actually have a system for my seeds. So it's a way I store my seeds, but it's also how I organise them, and it keeps me right when I'm sowing. So that's another video I'll shove in the description for you and I'll pin at the end because it's really useful. Eli's seed organising and storing methods. Okay, we're doing something different. Okay, we're doing something different then. You guys have actually seen me do this so many times through the years, and it's root trainers. I have been using root trainers for all sorts of crops since I started because they're just so useful. So a root trainer is basically any kind of pot, or in this case system of pots, that just are really, really long and usually quite thin. And the reason for them is for any plants that like to have a really long root run. So things with long tap roots, these love it. Peas, beans, even some flowers like your sweet peas, that kind of thing. And I've also used them as a way to make it easy for me to be planting things out. Start them off in the greenhouse and then plant them out, because the one thing about root trainers I love is they come apart to make it easier to then get those little plugs out and plant them, which is great for things that don't like to be disturbed. Now you don't need these, okay guys, let me just say that. These are lovely and I've used them for years and I love them, but they're not necessary at all. I just find them useful. Okay, get everything nice and clicked back together. So I'm just going to fill these with soil and sow the seeds into them, okay? And what usually happens, you get all different types of root trainers from different companies, they all do them. But ones like this, where they come in some sort of tray to hold it together, are really useful. You guys have seen me use so many different types of these over the years. Okay. As if by magic, it's now full of seed starting mix. Right, now, what I'm going to do, I said, is something different. So this is the first of the seeds that I'm sowing specifically to go into my green stock vertical planter in the garden, okay? So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be trying a selection of dwarf plants for that this year. And the peas are just the first ones of those. So these are called half pint, okay? They're small little pea plants instead of the tall, sprawling, climbing ones. So they'll take up much less space. So I'm going to actually be able to grow a whole tier of 6 of these plants in the green stock. So I'm quite excited. But they're small enough that I can put them elsewhere as well. Technical malfunction. The camera just overheated. I've had to swap cameras. But I was just about to tell you this super trick for sowing peas. Now, peas, when you sow them, if you've never grown peas before, they're just dried peas, okay? I was going to say like the ones in the supermarket. Obviously, these are a specific variety rather than the random things from the supermarket. But because they're dry, they need to take on all that moisture from your seed starting mix or your compost in order to germinate. So there's an old gardener's trick to this, and that is to put these in a glass of, say, room temperature water overnight before you sow them, and it just means they'll germinate much faster. Now, I haven't done that because I wasn't prepared enough, but I've done it in the past and it does work really well. And all I'm going to do is pop one in each of these little cells. Now, I filled the whole thing and I don't need them all. So again, I'm going to go with just 12. I only need 6 plants, so I'm going to go with 12. And any extras, I can just put them in the garden somewhere because they're only small plants. And just so I remember, labels. Peas, and then I'll cover them with soil. There we go. And like everything else, I will cover these. Now, if you ever wonder about how deep to sow seeds, because if you've not sown something before, you might be wondering. Look at the size of the seed. So peas are quite big, so obviously I sow them deeper than I would tomatoes that are much smaller. But as I mentioned, the lettuce seeds that I sowed were absolutely tiny, so I just put them on the surface. Okay, it doesn't have to be scary or complicated, it can be that simple. Over the years you might find different ways of doing things, and that's fine, because that's what happens, we learn over time. But there's a nice easy way for just now. Look at the size of the seed, and if it's a large seed, bury it deeper. So things like courgettes, cucumbers, melons, quite large. Peas, beans. So with them, I can be burying them as deep as 2 centimetres. There we go, 12 peas. So again, a good water, and then I just set them aside and leave everything to germinate. But you can bet I'll be giving you updates as we go. Of course I will. So then, that was tomatoes that are going to live in the greenhouse. They've been sown. A bit of cut and come again salad, broadcast sown. Both of those have been done in what's called a seed flat or a seed tray. And then as a bonus, I've got peas that I've sown in these root trainers. There you go. Not bad for another grow along with Eli. And it's only the start of things because it gets exciting from now. Oh, okay, I can move now. So I thought it might be handy to tell you then. Peas don't need any heat to germinate now in my garden. It's warm enough that they will germinate. So I've just got them sitting here with all the rest of my seedlings on this side. That little propagator lid is really useful, so I've shoved it on there. It'll keep the moisture in, but I'll pull that off once things sprout. Salad. Again, you don't need heat for it to germinate at this time of year. I find if I put it on one of these shelves in the sun, it will germinate. But if you have a heat mat or something like that to help it germinate, it will germinate much faster. But what it does need is light, okay guys? It needs either sunlight or a grow light if you're doing it indoors or whatever, but it does need light to germinate. For us, that's going to go in our kitchen because Kate likes to have cut and come again salad in the kitchen. Tomatoes. Where have I got them? Here they're here. Still dripping wet. Tomatoes, although they do need heat to germinate, just like salad, I have found that I can germinate these in my greenhouse at this time of year just by sitting them on the shelves in the sun. If you have a heat mat, they'll germinate an awful lot faster. So you may want to put these on a heat mat if you've got one, just to give them that kickstart. But if you don't have one, don't panic, they'll be fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shove them in my big heated propagator behind me to give them that kickstart. But these are not going to be babied. These are going to live outside in the greenhouse with no heat. So they're just going to have to toughen up at some point. But I'm going to do that to just get them going fast. And there we go then. So that is tomatoes, salad and peas sown mid-March. Oh, and as promised, there's those 2 videos. I'll see you next time, folks. See ya!